Hi, I'm Gary Bembridge of Tips for Travelers. In this video, I'm going to tell you 5 things that you need to know about Hapag Lloyd cruises, and especially if you're an English-speaking passenger, should you even consider cruising with them. So first of all, who exactly are Hapag Lloyd cruises? So whilst their origins are with the big freight company Hapag Lloyd, they are now no longer associated with that company. They're actually a wholly owned subsidiary of the massive TUI travel group, and they're based in Hamburg. Their roots do go right back over 125 years of cruising. They operate a very small fleet of ships. At the time of recording, just 4 ships. They are really an ultra-luxury cruise line, and they focus on classic cruising and expedition cruising. Their ships, as with all ultra-luxury ships, are small. So for example, the Europa 2, which I'm currently on, has only 500 guests. Now, many people in the industry rate them as the leaders in ultra-luxury and give them very high ratings. So things like the Berlitz Cruise and Cruising Guide, they consistently rate many of the Hapag Lloyd Cruises ships right up there with top marks, higher than many other of the other cruise ships. The second thing I think you need to know is the line suitable for English-speaking travelers? Now, Hapag Lloyd Cruises, because its heart and base is in Germany, it caters very much historically for the German-speaking passenger. However, they are looking to attract many more international travelers, by which they mean English-speaking travelers. This is focused on 2 key ships, so the MS Europa 2, and they also have an expedition ship, the Hanseatic Inspiration, is also designated as an international ship. So what does it mean to be an international ship? Well, first of all of the crew on board are bilingual, so all of them will speak German and English. All the documentation that you receive before and during the cruise will be in English. So the daily program, when you look at the onboard app, announcements will all be made in both languages, German and English. There will always be at least one English excursion in every port of call, and that's a dedicated English excursion. Very importantly, there is an international host on board, and it's their role to make sure that the international guests, English-speaking guests, are covered at all times. So for example, if there's a talk by someone in German on board, you will be given simultaneous translation. They will also accompany you on excursions if they are only going to be in German, and they are available to sort out any issues you have on board. Things like the safety briefing or Zodiac briefing, they're all done specifically in English. So normally a little English group is formed and you're briefed very specifically in English to make sure that you understand all of the safety regulations. So certainly if you're an English speaker and looking for an ultra-luxury cruising experience, I would recommend you take a look at Hapag Lloyd Cruises. You're not going to be traveling in a little bubble of the US or the UK. You will have a much more international experience once you're on board. So the third thing you need to know is about the age profile of Hapag Lloyd cruises. Now, what's interesting about Hapag Lloyd is it differs a lot by ship, and they do attract and target different demographics. So for example, on the classic cruising side, Europa tends to be a much more traditional cruising experience and will attract a slightly older traveler. However, Europa 2 really targets a much younger demographic. So they tend to be sort of in their 40s, they tend to be young professionals, and young professionals often with families. So Europa 2, which is the international ship, is a much younger demographic. So the look, the feel, the design of the ship is designed to be much younger. Europa 2 has many shorter cruises, so lots of 7-day cruises or shorter cruises, which work much better for younger professionals. So if you have children, here's a couple of things to consider that Europa 2 specifically does. First of all, there's a financial opportunity, because if you have children up to the age of 11 and they travel in the same cabin as you, they travel for free. If they're aged between 11 and 15, there's a small charge of around about $100 US, about 100 euros. Again, if they're staying in the same cabin as you. The second thing they have, though, is they have what is known as family apartments. And these consist of a veranda suite, and then there's a adjoining cabin next door, which is specifically targeted at children. There are kids clubs on board, both for young children, split by age, and then a specific teens club. They also have family and kids-specific excursions. They also have a late riser offer where they will come and fetch your children early in the morning, take them away to give you some you time to sleep in a little bit later. Twice a day they have an adults only time at the pool, and they have a kids only time at the pool. Also, if you're traveling with very young children, before you come on board you can order a special baby's welcome pack, which has lots of things that you need for babies, such as diapers, formula, and other baby related products. The only watch I'd have, of course, if you don't travel with children, is then, like most cruise lines avoid the critical holiday times. So for example, in July, the cruise that I was on, there was over 55 children on board. So the fourth thing you need to know about Hapag Lloyd cruises is about the fare. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because it's a little bit different to other ultra-luxury lines. And you might be surprised with some of the things that are included and some of the things that are excluded because it is a little bit different to comparable or competitive lines. So first of all, let's talk about what is included. So obviously your accommodation is included, and the accommodation is pretty lush, has lots of little features like the minibar is included. You get fresh fruit, you get very nice little turn-down treats. The second thing that's included is your food, including all specialty dining options. So for example, let's take a look at the Europa 2. There are 7 restaurants on board, and all of them are included within your fare. Now on the Europa, they have slightly less specialty restaurants, but all of them are included within the fare. 24-hour in-room dining is also included within the fare. Once a week on board, they also have a big caviar night where all the restaurants have caviar. Gratuities are included within the fare, although you will find, for example, in the spa, there's often a line left when you sign to add an extra gratuity. You also get 1 hour of free Wi-Fi, and then of course you get access to all the facilities, including things like the steam room and the sauna, and if there's any entertainment going on. The only key thing that you pay extra for is if you do one of the cooking classes on board. There is a charge for that. So let's talk about what's not included. Now, one of the things you probably have noticed straight away is alcoholic beverages are not included, and even water that you have outside of your room are not included. So specialty teas and coffees are included. The minibar in your room, which has beer and soft drinks, is included. All drinks, things like the Captain's Welcome Party, are included, and you'll get a bottle of champagne in your room when you board. Now, one of the things you do get is a €200 onboard credit to use for drinks. Excursions are not included. Obviously, if you go on the expedition cruising, that's slightly different because some of the Zodiac trips are included within the overall fare. So as you can see, there are some similarities and some differences to other ultra-luxury lines, with the alcohol not being included, probably the biggest difference in terms of fare. So the fifth thing you need to know about Hapag Lloyd cruises is what is the onboard ambience like? And again, as I've hinted at, it does differ a little bit by ship. So let's talk a little bit about the dress code. So although there's no set dress code on Europa 2, people do tend to dress quite smartly. So even during the day, they wear designer brands and quite smart clothes. In the evenings, people do dress up very smartly. And certainly when they go to the restaurants, it's very normal for men to wear jackets and ladies to wear smart dresses. So in the informal dining in the evening, so like the yacht club on Europa 2, people will dress a little bit more informally. It tends not to be a big party ship. People tend to have a much more laid-back approach, a much calmer approach to cruising, and are looking just to have a more quiet, calm, refined time. Hapag Lloyd offers a very upmarket experience. It's quite a refined, it's quite a sophisticated experience. Hapag Lloyd want to attract more and more English-speaking guests. So they have 2 dedicated ships. They have one classic cruising ship, which is Europa 2, and one of the new expedition ships, Hanseatic Inspiration, is designated as an international ship. And certainly as an English speaker on board, I didn't feel left out, I didn't feel lost, because there are lots of things they do to make sure that you feel welcome. And in fact, certainly when you're in your cabin, you almost forget that you're on with mostly German speakers, because everything you interact with is English. So if you like the idea of an ultra-luxury line, you like the idea of a very sophisticated line with a high level of service and really good quality, it's definitely something to consider. And bear in mind that if you do travel on Hapag Lloyd, you're not traveling in a little bubble of the US or the UK, and you are going to be having a slightly more exotic and slightly different cruising experience. So definitely, I think, something to look at. Now, Hapag Lloyd Cruises does operate very much in the ultra-luxury and the premium end of the cruising market. So for example, to give you a sense of the prices on board, I'm in a veranda suite on board the Europa 2. That's going to cost you around about €500 per person per day, about $600 per person per day, about £500 per person per day. Obviously, that varies a lot based on the time of year that you're traveling. If you found this video helpful, I'd love if you watched many more of my Tips for Travelers videos. The goal of them is to help you make much more of your precious travel time and money.